This one, they flipped it, in their opinion, and it's always the eyes of the beholder as far as what they think it is.
I was just saying, not to belabor that point, but let's belabor the point because it was a huge play in that game. Are you just to clarify? The ideal call in the moment, as Tim was saying, would have been a personal foul and targeting. So there was
personal foul with targeting. So if, let's say they, for whatever reason, and they did, they took off the targeting, at least you got 15 yards hanging and a first down on the play, and it ends up with the same result, but except for the kid didn't stay in the game on this one. And we have that quite a bit, a personal foul with targeting, and if he doesn't get him he gets him in the shoulder, but he was sliding quarterback, it's a foul. And this one was, it was a very, very tough play, close play. I thought what they did on the field was pretty good, and there were few instances throughout the season that they may have flipped it, but I wasn't really comfortable with that decision.
But really there's two, so there's one discussion about should replay have overturned it,
yes.
But if they also had called it on the field originally.
Well, they did. They called targeting.
Yeah, right, but they didn't call the personal foul. If they
yeah.
would have called personal foul with targeting, even if they flipped the targeting, the personal foul would have remained.
Correct.
And you actually think that would have been the proper thing
Yeah,
to
and I
do
think that we wouldn't have as big a discussion on this. The kid gets to stay in the game, but, most people felt that, knocked the guy out, got him.
Is there something that felt, as you said, it's a difficult business, bang, bang plays. Was there anything in the process there that fell short, though, that you're saying often on those plays it was called personal foul with targeting? In that circumstance it wasn't. Was that just a misstep? That's what that should have been called?
Well, I think the room of the coordinators or the people in the rules committee, they were split on it. So it's not clear cut, but when you're split, what happens in replay? The call stands, right? We don't have stands in replay. So I think you work your way to that answer. In my own personal opinion, if it was my guys, I would have been satisfied what they did in the field, and I would live with that call. It was a dangerous play. It was a foul, and it didn't end up that way.
As they looked at the frame by frame, is it rescinded from targeting because he gets in here as opposed to here? What did you see?
Well, he did get him there, but there was contact also. If you look at all the angles, there was contact to the head too.
Okay.
So now the question is, was that enough, or is the 80% went to the shoulder?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine if it did, but 20% it knocked the kid out.
Yeah, it's knocked out.
So I'm just saying these are really good athletes, and if you look what one of the indicators for targeting is launching, and he leaves his feet and goes up, where he's not wrapping him up with his head up and trying to move his head to the side either. So just a really tough call, and we'll talk about it just like we talk about Ohio State, Michigan first down, and you guys ask me those questions all the time every year. Was it a first down, and where's the film that shows it, and all that.
When they look at stuff frame by frame, sometimes when you're determining the guy's inbound or not, that's obviously
Yeah.
When you're trying to determine something that is a bang bang thing, and you're going frame by frame, can that kind of take away where it seems very obvious?
Yeah, some plays you actually have to, Tom, look at frame by frame. And some, I tell my guys, never look at frame by frame. Put on the regular speed, the line feed, we call it, regular speed, not speed, regular speed. And it's usually a catch, no catch. Because if I slow a catch, no catch, I catch it, it's moving slightly, and now I really slow it down. Oh, I have it, now I've taken 3 steps with this, it's a problem. It looks like that he caught it and he fumbled it. On regular speed, it's in and it's out. We want incomplete, hang on to the ball, but other ones, like whether he's in or out of bounds, or, if he did the defender commit before or after the quarterback started to slide. That's a tough one, because the quarterback in college, the quarterback wants to get every single yard. NFL, they're sliding 5 yards before the first down. They don't, they protect, and they're smart from that standpoint. Our guys are running too much, and it's hard for our guys, because at the last second they bail out. And you're coming in trying to tackle the guy, and then they bail out on you. And then who hit who? The defender's going to come in. Was he committed? If he was committed to make that tackle, if the quarterback slides late, you can't ever hit him in the head, but you might not have a late hit. You might not have that personal foul with targeting on that one, because if he's clearly late. from that standpoint. So I like the idea on these plays. It happens so fast, and it's a loud collision, and it's a violent, dangerous play. I'm okay that leaning toward give him a personal foul with targeting, and if it's not targeting and replay can prove it, forget the plays we just talked. But if they can prove it, fine, throw it out, and penalize them.
When all this started, right? There was some, and I remember having this conversation with you last year about like intent, right? And it's hard to tell what's in a player's head.
Yeah, you can't.
But there's an actionable thing that you don't. What was the phrase you just used? Like it was something, right? There was something there that was too much, and it feels like when it comes to a personal foul, you say you can't do that.
Well,
but you can get so far in the weeds of the specifics and slowing down frame by frame.
Yep.
That you lose the overall view of like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, and some stuff you can, if you step back with an unbiased hat on, and just say, well, that's not football. That's not what we want. Would you want your player to do that in practice to your guy? Oh no, we wouldn't do that. Or onside kicks. They don't even practice onside kicks, but they want guys to get blown up out there. That's, you'll get a targeting on that too. Because trying to catch it. So it's kind of a tricky business because it's subjective and it is a gray area. I mean, let's take a simple play. Is this hold? Yeah, he's got him by the jersey, but he's not beat yet. He's moving his feet. Is that enough to call? Is that enough or was that his intent really? And if you use some just common sense step back, I said, well, that's not good for the game. We want to get that kind of stuff, and that's what targeting started.
Can I ask you one quickie?
Sure.
It's always intrigued me. Can you use replay now, or are you allowed to use replay now when a player retaliates? Are you allowed to go back and see what prompted possibly the retaliation? Will that ever come into meaning? A flag was thrown on this guy for retaliation, but what's he retaliating?
Well, we look at it because he doesn't do that for nothing. So let me show me the play before that. Oh, he's getting back at this guy because he cut him and we didn't call it or something like that. Got a cheap shot.
Oh, we hit it to where that's going to be.
Well,
in the game,
when he retaliates, and now we have a little melee or dust up or whatever, replay can help in that area. So if I'm going to throw one player out, because I saw him throw a punch, it's a good flag. I don't care what he did. You don't be retaliating. But we may go back and get the first guy. And I always want to get the first guy, not if you throw a punch, but if I'm the instigator and I knock you on your can, you get up and now you push me and all the flags come because I pushed you. Well, that's okay. But if someone should see the whole play and get the first guy that knocked him down. I mean, so replay can actually sometimes help and just say, oh, what do you got? You got a personal foul? I says, get number 47. He knocked him first, just to get it right.
Yeah.
And coaches know that.
So y'all are doing that now, or will be doing
trying to, because we have the O2Os. Yeah. On the field, we're all talking to each other. Replays listening in, but it's usually on the field. Hey, wait a minute, I'm just telling you, 47 knocked him down. I said, put the flag. I thought you were throwing on him. Don't throw it on the guy unless he really retaliates.
Yeah.
But he gets up, he taunts in his face. Get the guy that knocked him down,
When you go talk about the personal foul with targeting, without targeting, going back to Penn State and Purdue last year, Abdul Carter was ejected.
Which game?
Abdul Carter, Penn State Purdue, the opener. It was Thursday night, Friday, whatever it was. I believe the broadcast crew questioned it. Some people thought it was targeting, some people thought it wasn't. Do you remember that play at all? And if so, was it a personal foul with targeting, or would that have changed anything, or just what's your opinion on that? Because that seemed like one of those gray area ones as well.
We threw it and we threw him out, right? The Purdue kid.
Penn State kid,
yeah. I think we supported I can't remember.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember the situation. I remember talking to Jeff about it, and Jeff was pretty good about it. Jeff Brown about it, and I think it went down as the correct call. But it's one of those close calls. Right. It could go, like you said. Some people thought it was and wasn't, and some of them don't have all the rules, in mind, but they just have an opinion on what is or isn't targeting, and it does shift a little and change a little bit because we tweak. Even last year, we took out the stands, but what else did we do last year? We said the crown of the helmet used to be like from the top of my ears all the way around, forehead and everything. Now it's like just a little beanie on top of your head. It's a very small. So when I say 913, which is the crown of the helmet, the forehead, the hairline is not the crown anymore. So we changed that. So that's how we got less And sometimes we threw it because my guys, I mean, they're going pretty fast, and like we said, it hit him in the shoulder, but slid up on that on Harrison's play, and moved up. So it happens. So we tend to throw the flag and okay, fix it, replay, and but the definition of the crown of the helmet limited a bunch of targeting calls, and
sorry, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. I'm pleased.
If you have a coach who's airing grievances about a call, what's kind of the process of that after a game?
Well, I ask them, doesn't always happen, ask them 24-hour cooling off period. Don't call me from the locker room, you finish it in the afternoon or Saturday night. Look at the film. I'm going to look at the film. I did see it, and I'm gathering film, and I get the coach's film immediately into my office in Chicago. So I kind of have all angles to start with. So I have pretty good, but could be a reporter or camera guy that at the game, covering the game, they might have a different angle that we don't have, but I get what TV has, and usually it's sufficient on that. But if they don't like something, I ask them to wait. There is a process in place where they can send me, let's say half a dozen plays, not just one play. Some of them will call me because they'd rather talk through it. Others would just type in 5 or 6 different plays and say, tell me, is this holding? Is this targeting? Is this, really a touchdown? What did replay think on this? And I'll give them written answers back to all their questions. And if they sent it in on Sunday, I'll give it to them within 24 hours coming back. And usually it's the same day. They send it in Sunday or Monday, they get the answers right away on that. So now the plays the plays aren't going to change, right? Okay, we missed all 5 of those plays, Coach. Well, not that we bat that poorly of an average, but we'll have a couple plays that I usually agree with the coaches about 58% of the time last year. So they'll send a bunch of plays in, a little over half. Okay, you're right, Coach, but I don't have it. I don't have an official watching that guy over here. Okay, he did, but looking at this angle, he did grab him and he did get away with it, and it was quick. Or he saw it, he passed on it, or she passed on it. So they're pretty good. It's a little one-on-one for 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours with the coaches grinding it out with me, and I answer all of them myself.
Do coaches who win a game ever send in complaints, or is it only coaches who lost?
No, some coaches will never send it in if they lose, never, and they remind me of that. And then when they do win, you think they're happy. They'll say, "What about these plays?" So they're all different. Some don't send in. Some would just pick up the phone. We have a few coaches. Bill, I trust you, but can I ask you about this? Yeah, just call me up. Let's go. And what about that play? And I pull it up. We both look at it at the same time, and we get agreement. They aren't always happy with my answers. We've had a couple plays last year that we missed. We ruled it. No one said one word on the field. Players, coaches, TV. And then we get film afterwards, and we keep going on. Replay didn't stop it. And they weren't interceptions. The ball was on the ground or whatever. A different angle, and you sure looked like everyone played it like an interception. And oh, darn it, we missed it. But the flag should go up with replay. I mean, the guys in the field make the call, and they're done. They could get together and talk about it, but they're done. Replay needs to have the instincts to say, it's pretty close. Let's confirm that he was in bounds. Let's confirm that the ball didn't skip. You could never see it in any of the replays. But on 2 plays, I found angles that the ball was loose.
On a typical week, how many coaches will you hear from, either via call, via email, who have plays that they want you to look at?
Probably all of them. Like I said, we have one that normally doesn't send a lot of plays. We have some that I know who sends plays in and how many come in. Some send a lot in, some send very few. And we have one that just texts me and says, "Are you available?" I go, "Yeah, let's talk about it."
But 58% of the time you agree
with the coaches, yeah.
with all of them.
Yeah, the video doesn't lie. These are
so
plays.
They limit their. Do they limit their complaints to when they really have a good case?
Yeah, I tell them that. I says, "You're wasting." I shouldn't say you're wasting my time, but I did say that, and the coach didn't like that. I said, "It's important to us." I says, I'm not going to take 20 plays from 14 different teams. Do the math, several hundred plays, and you want me to look at every single one of them, look at every single angle, and then write a written. I says, I got to train my officials. I can tell you, give me the most important plays, and they're good now. I have to train them on what I can and can't do. I said, fine, I'm just going to give it. There's an NFL guy grading this game. They don't know the officials. They don't know they're just, is it a right call or a wrong call? I said, I'll just pull the sheets, just like the Purdue question. I'm not sure. I think they grade it this way. I can't remember after 19,000 plays in the season, I can't remember every single one, but the big ones I know. But some of the coaches, they'll send plays in, but I said, they better be good. And they're 50-50. And this year it happened to be, I just talked to the coaches, gave them the numbers. It's usually about 50%, about half. And some of it, and some of it, that I agree with them, but some of them are rules questions. Yeah, we missed the spot. We went holding from this yard line. We missed it by a yard. I says, why didn't replay call down and fix that? Or, there's some of it's administrative, but I'm not talking about 58% of the big calls. No, our guys are usually right. When they throw the flag, they're right about 95% of the time when they throw it. Is this holding? Yeah, we didn't call it, and the guy watched here, and he went to here and missed it. Left him too quick, So what am I going to tell you? The video's there. It's holding,
So is it more the non-calls that become an issue?
Yeah. I mean, I said, okay, do you want me to have 10 holding calls in every single game, or do you want 2 or 3? Because the game will get a lot longer, and then if you want me to get technical, I can find 10 holding calls for 5 on each team, every single game. It's the no calls. Because it was third down and the defender grabbed his wide receiver and it was off a little bit. That should be, the way I describe it, might be a defensive holding, but a little tug here or there, especially at the line play. Okay, he grabbed him, but it's not enough. I mean, I could have supported that. That was just enough. He took a half a step away, Malcolm. So if that's the case, I try to evaluate it that way, and just say, you know what, we could have done a little bit of better job. I mean, I don't BS them. The numbers are the numbers. They're working their tail off, and there's plenty more mistakes by players. I mean, every play would go for a touchdown if you blocked everyone, or every play would go for a sack if you both ways. So people make mistakes, players and coaches, and we're right there with them. We'll make 5.8 mistakes a game, in a whole game.
When you say 95%, that means so 95%.
When we throw the flag.
All
right. So when we throw the flag, but we make, let's say, 5 or 6 mistakes a game, and we're right most of the time we throw it. So it goes back to most of them are no calls. And it's pass interference or holding. Defensive holding or pass interference, or offensive holding. That's usually where the coaches, the most that come in is this holding. That's the number one. I said, yeah, it could be holding. Yeah, we would have, had he seen that flag should have gone.
Yeah.
So.
Are there times where a coach might publicly comment questioning officiating and then they don't end up actually sending it to you because they realize after looking at it that?
Yeah, sometimes it gets vetted pretty quick if they go public. If they have an issue with me or the calls, they should send it in. There's a process, just to your original question. There is a process. We're trying to do it right, trying to be transparent. I put it in writing, not maybe. I got to actually, is this correct or incorrect? I only do it with my calls, so I don't want to criticize other conferences that are making big calls, but, I have an opinion of it, but it doesn't change anything. But if they go through the process, but they should not be going public on it. Once in a while, out of frustration, on Monday or Tuesday, whenever they have their press conference, they'll say something, and I'm dialing them up real quick, And the conferences too, because we listen to all the press conferences, and it just isn't healthy for the game. I mean, not going to change if you could say I'm disappointed, whatever, but or I disagree with the call, but we just don't allow it. Most going public, they got fined for it.
So in a situation like Iowa, Michigan last year, Kirk Ferentz had comments afterward. Is that a case where you're calling him and the conference is finding him?
Yeah, and most of that stuff is confidential, and Kirk Ferentz is one of the best, right? I mean, in my opinion, and his father-in-law was an NFL referee, so I mean, he knows how hard when he got married into a refereeing family, and but they all have issues, and they're under tremendous pressure. I get it, and I have empathy for them, but I'll hold my ground if I think the call is correct, and I said, well, he saw this, and he felt that was enough, and it was consistent in the first quarter. He called it in the first quarter, called it in the fourth quarter. So he's pretty consistent. They're very similar plays, but no two plays are exactly the same.
Could you envision a day down the road when there's an equivalent process to what the NBA does, with its review of last 2 minutes?
We've talked about it. I know the SEC talked about it. It's been, and I know the NBA guys are going to be with them out in Los Angeles for a convention Saturday for 4 days, and there's a bunch of NBA guys there. So we work closely together. It's not wildly successful. I mean, they put it out there just to kind of keep the chatter down a little bit, be transparent. The teams get it, so satisfying fans, I think, Malcolm, I think. I know Jim Delaney was always against it. Kevin Warren didn't want to go down that path, and Tony Petitti, coming from baseball, he has a really good sense of the umpire situation, and so he's pretty knowledgeable about reffing, very knowledgeable. So we haven't talked about that. I don't know what good it does. If it's a catastrophic error, I'm the first guy to say, let's put out a statement. We screwed that call up. Maybe not in that language, but we missed that call. It's that simple. I say, and then next question. The coaches say, what about I told you we made a mistake. We missed it. Next question, coach. And that usually puts them, I mean, it's not going to change. And going public isn't good. It isn't good to be whining, especially if you lose. To me, it looks bad. And I said, Coach, don't go down that path. No, I can take it, but don't go down that path. Don't be mentioning the referee's, official's name or something in your press conference. They know there's a process, but we're all human, right? We get frustrated and say something, do something that we probably shouldn't, and that's where being under control. One of the coaches talked about being poised, as players and as a team. I do the same. I tell my guy, you got to fake it, even if you're nervous as hell. You have to have poise out there. You just have to, listen with your ears, and you can't be quoted if you're just listening. The coach says this. That's why you'll see one of my officials talking to the head coach. Another official will come down just to listen. They're my witness if something is said on Monday that your guy said this to me. He swore. I said, no. I says, I got my report. I know what was said. I know what you said, and I know what he listened to, and that was it. But that's what they do.
Get your intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
So with venues in the Big Ten, just sort of like Beaver Stadium, Ohio Stadium, Big House, anything like that, what do you tell your officials to kind of stay poised and block out the noise in some of these environments where I don't know, could get distracted or anything like that?
Yeah, they all care when they throw a flag or make a decision, not throw a flag. They care about what they make right away. And they might peek at the board or ask, what did you see across the field? That was a good, you got them early, right? Just to reassure. Some of it's tough calls, bang, bang on that. But as far as the fans and like Beaver Stadium is really loud, right? It's like Kansas City in the NFL. There's certain Seattle, there's some stadiums that the fans are really into it. It's a great environment, especially college football. So, but when they get to that level, whether they're booing or cheering, they're used to it. They really are. They really don't get, they aren't grading them, the coach isn't grading them, my team is grading them. That's all they care about. Do they get the call right? And I try to support them when they're gray area, if I can.
The 58% on the reports where you agree with the coaches, you issue a statement if it's an incorrect call. What's the next step after that? What are you telling sort of your officials after that?
Well, they'll see it. They're not into, they're into technology, but they aren't supposed to be out there putting their opinions out on, social media, right? That's a no-no for us. So they can't, there's no rebuttal from them. If there's a rebuttal, I might put something out. The Big Ten Conference says we made a mistake, the clock should have run out, the quarter should have ended, and shouldn't have got the first down or something. If we make a mistake, and judgment calls we usually don't make comments on, unless it's a catastrophic error, a major thing. If it rises to that level of interest that we have to acknowledge it, we'll tell the coaches. I'll tell the I'll tell both the coach and the visiting coach, we're going to lose. I said, no, we screwed that up. We missed that call. So we do it internally quite well. Some other conferences sometimes put stuff out. NBA puts stuff out, trying to acknowledge it to codify the crowd, the fans, I guess, maybe a little bit. But I just don't know we're transparent. Everybody here, our fans or reporter, you're at the game, you saw the video. You might not have seen it live really well, but you see the video. That's being transparent, in my opinion. Everyone sees it, and you might not always agree, and we could be talking about anything, and two people love to disagree today in today's society. Like, well, it's my opinion is this. And but the video doesn't lie, so I feel pretty comfortable. You saw what I saw. You know, yeah, it looks like the ball hit the ground. Yeah, it looked like the guy hit him in the head, you know.
I'm guessing there's sort of like an education period where you tell your officials, hey, this is what should have been called in that period.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I take the biggest plays that the coaches send to me, put them on a training tape. By Wednesday, every official in the conference says, hey, we called pass interference. This is not enough for pass interference. I mean, I wouldn't say, and the coach sent it in. They don't have to send any in, because we look at every single play. And we grade it, and, you know, but I'm just giving you the numbers. So coaches, they like to vent a little bit, and they want it, but a lot of times they want to know is that what we want called, Bill? You know, do we want that called? Is it, you know? And so I have to tell them, you know, no, it's too technical. He did grab him, but not enough. And that's that gray area and the veterans can figure it out. My rookies come in and they're so nervous they're throwing flags, but I usually will have an older guy and a young guy working together on the same sideline. Experienced, inexperienced. I mean, I look at personalities. I have an outside service that helps me take psychological tests, just like the NFL does, and they help me make up crews, decide who belongs with who. Not just is it diverse, African American, a white guy, a female, or whoever. Diversity is important, but I look at experience too. Is that diverse, where it's not all old guys or a bunch of really young renegades that think that they've made it, you know, and they're all too young, you know. You got to balance that out a little
So
bit.
when you have the psychological testing, are there any qualities that you're looking for when you mix and match?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have it with me, but I get maybe a 6 or 8 page report. You know, they aren't watching them work on film or in a game. They're answering questions, and I give them a Wonderlic test, see how capable they are, you know, how smart they are, how they work as a team, and there's one other category in that. But I give them a psychological test that is about an 8 page report that do they fit? And what I do is I compare it to my top Big Ten people. You're really successful. You went to the Big Ten championship. You've worked at a national championship. What do you look like on paper? And then I compare them to the NFL people, the top people in the NFL. It's the same company that the NFL uses that we use. And I compare, what does the ideal replay person look like? What's the ideal head referee look like? In these quality, but in a bunch of categories. You know, are they really? And that's just a pretty scientific answering a bunch of questions that are amazingly accurate. Amazingly accurate. If you ever took they put you in a quadrant, so he's passive or he's aggressive or he's driver. I mean, there's a lot of different tests out there. It's really helpful for me in my business. It's a hard job, but I want to make sure when they're out there for 3 hours that they're getting along and they really are comfortable and there's a trust. You know, if one guy's so arrogant, well, I played ball, I don't need to study the rules, and I got this, and you know, and that's not a good fit. That'll come out in a test like that. Doesn't listen. Well, yeah, but he's the referee. He's or she's in charge. You better listen. I don't care what your past is. That doesn't help me that you were a Heisman Trophy winner. You gotta. What's pass interference to you now? You know, so it's all good, but I make mistakes. I look at people. I like people. I'll hire the guy or the gal and find out that they can't pull the trigger. Oh, darn it. I mean, you watch them in practices. We do a lot of stuff. We get them on the field. I see a lot of grass time with their feet out there. And I have a lot of people scouting. But the reality is, this helps me, and it's been a proven, every executive in the NFL takes the same test. If you're a president, a GM, a head coach, every official takes this test. I give it to all my officials. Because there's some accuracy in it. Not that I'm trying to use AI, it's not AI, but I'm using technology to help me because I just can't figure that out, you know, and be right all the time. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of working its way up. So I guess the first question is, what, as an industry, are you able to do to try to reverse that trend? And how far out is it when you become concerned? Because if it's working its way up, it's going to take a while to get from middle school to 10. How far out is that?
Yeah, it'll take a couple years. But I clearly see it. If I have any geographics, or if I have 200 D1 officials applying, in a couple of years they're going to have 175, and I have 6 Division III conferences and 1 Division II conferences, and I spend a lot of time with high school. This is a full-time job. Traveling. I'm going to shortage of officials. I'm in LA starting on doing a clinic Saturday morning out there, and it'll be a 4-day clinic. And then on the last day, we're bringing the NBA. I represent college football, but one person from the NBA is coming. Walt Anderson from the NFL is coming. We represent every single major sport. Could be volleyball, different. And we get together to talk about what are we doing about shortages. What do we do? And I said, okay, this is grind it out. We can give elegant speeches, and you'll see in the next 30 days, I hope. We were supposed to do it here. Every one of my head coaches promised that they do a PSA for me about, okay, you want to go to the NFL, we'll help you. You want to be a head coach, I'll help you. But if you don't make those 2 things, we want you to be a referee, an official. Big Ten head coaches, we're going to have BTN Network go to each campus, and they're going to do a PSA for me, and we're going to put it out there in the Big Ten Network. Trying to get, you're a high school player. Someday when you take the pads off for the last time, I mean, most of you probably played some sport. When you do it for the last time, you can maybe keep playing tennis or golf, and you can't play football anymore. So why don't you become an official if you don't want to put? And coaching is a grind. I mean, a lot of hours and hard. You're sleeping on cots overnight, looking at a lot of video. It's not as bad with the officials, but it's hard to be really, really good at it. And people are blasting you, whether it's youth coaches. I'm not saying with you, Tom, but it's usually the fans, it's the parents, and Officially Human is a company that's out there that's talking to the high school federation here in town and all over the country, clinics about getting head coaches to talk to their parents who talk to their kids. If you cross the line, your kid's not playing on this team. And my grandson was just in a Little League game. And a grandpa like me was after, and I wasn't there, but my kids were there, and my grandkid was playing, and the umpire walked off the field. He was 13 years old. It was a 10 through 12. He was just a year ahead of the oldest guys there, really, and it was a playoff for Little League. And he had an adult with him, but they got on his case, he took off the mask, put everything down, walked off. I mean, I wish I was there, but to help the kid. But anyways, it's the youth don't want to do it. It's hard. You have the hardest job. I got a lot of people want to be in the Big Ten, but eventually that number is going to get a lot smaller. It's a real problem. People, I don't want to say don't care, but it's not their problem. It's my problem. If you're there to serve the game, and that's what I try to do, and I want my officials. I mean, they like what they're doing. And it's challenging. You make a few bucks, but they're there to serve the game. The people, you guys out there watching the players. It's not the coach. It's not the ref. It's the players. So if they know their role, and not all of them have it. After 3 years, most of them leave. The average guy is out in 3 years as a referee.
Does the mainstream nature of the whole gambling thing intensify the scrutiny and the pressure?
Sure. We've always tested background checks. I have 2 services. The NCAA does it. I have a private service. We spend a lot of money. Background checks on all my refs. They'll knock on your neighbor's door. Malcolm, if you're working for me. Every 3 years, I rotate them around. They go really deep into your business. I can go directly into the bank accounts. They have to sign everything over to me that we have access to go into the bank accounts. So, luckily, but if you remember 10 years ago, 11 years ago, Tim Donaghy, the NBA, I knew Tim, and got himself in trouble, made a big mistake. It hurt. That's that 1% that screws it up for everybody, for all sports. Okay, coach, they missed the call. It's not because he's from Ohio and he doesn't like Michigan or vice versa. It's not. He missed the call. They aren't cheating.
I was thinking more, not so much of the Donaghy thing, but
Yeah.
just how widespread the wage
Oh yeah.
is now.
Well, then you get more pressure. And I tell my guys, listen, at Thanksgiving, when your brother-in-law comes over to the house, he says, "Is that quarterback? Is he injured? Did he pull a hamstring? I saw him play last." It's, "Oh no, he's going to be okay. I just worked their practice and I talked to the." Well, innocently, he's giving him information to his family member who's actually legally betting on game. I says, "You can't talk to anybody. You're not an expert on medical, expert on the teams. Are they good? Are they trending the right way? You're an expert on officiating only, not anything else. So it's a big deal for us. Don't even go there. You're not the expert. I says, well, I don't. Yeah. Well, you saw the stats. You saw the game. Yeah, he looked pretty good, you know. But I don't give any opinion like, oh yeah, they're really gonna be
Bill, I
great.
wanted to ask you about how the cut block was going to be, enforced this year.
The cut block.
Yeah, and specifically, was there discussion about legislating something out of the game, specifically like the service academies run the triple and they're going to have to change it?
Yeah, we didn't make any changes this year. Mostly administrative timing, kind of benign. Major. I mean, of course, first down, I guess, with the clock is different, but the cut block didn't change, and we've lessened where you now that we did change the rule 2 years ago. It used to say it's legal to block the guy, your opponent, below the waist, with these exceptions: a punt return, interception return, a few things like that. Now the rule book says it's illegal to block below the waist with only these exceptions: close line play in the tackle box, got to be stationary, lineman or a back. If you're in motion, a back, you can't cut block. You have to cut from the front. So it's really restrictive. And to your academy's question, they have a wing or they have an H-back sitting. He gets a piece of the tackle, so he's in the tackle box. But what he does, if this is the line of scrimmage here, he'll swing around and he wants to cut from the side the linebacker. I mean, that's their option, and that's what you do. Yeah, so it's a really good design, and they're going to have to figure out how to do their run the ball all the time without cut blocking from the side. Now, and once you see, it's a confined area, and the NFL went to it too. I'm a little guy, and I played, but when I got a big guy coming after me, and you're a pulling guard, and I'm a defensive back, I kind of thought it was okay for me to cut you so my linebacker can come in and make the tackle, because if I try to take you on, I'm going to get hit in the head by you, I'm going to have a concussion, and I'm going to get rolled over. So I really didn't think that it was equitable for that. But we made the rule, out in the flats, downfield, only in this little box. And once the ball goes out the box, nobody can cut. So it's very restrictive. And someday they might say no blocking below the waist anywhere. Because we've come so far in the last 10 years on this low blocks, and we kept changing the rule for 10 years. I finally told Rogers Redding, who was in charge of the rule, I said, Rogers, we're messed up. We're the ones that don't know what's going on. You change the rule every year, and they change such a small change in that I says, we made actually 8 out of 10 years we made a rule change on blocking. I says, just fix it. Figure out the best way. But they were afraid to take major steps now, but that was then, and now, I say in 5 years, they might say no blocking, low.
Bill, how does the new rule, first downs, how does that impact the game? How does that impact what you're trying to tell your
Well, I
guys?
think it impacts the chain crew. If they're old and broken down players or officials, and they just want to be a ringside seat, they got to get down there a little quicker. We're not stopping it, so they got to get the things in and work down. And then we have mechanics that drop a beanbag. We know where the line of scrimmage is. So that rule will probably take out 7 or 8 plays from the studies. We studied about 16 games last year and actually looked at how many first downs and how much time, and before we wound it up again after first down. And then in that, we probably would lose about 7 or 8 plays. Maybe 5, 3 or 4 on offense and defense. So individually, a player's not going to lose a lot of playing time, but in a game, you're going to lose that. We'll probably take 3 or 4 minutes, but I think off the game. I mean, that's our goal. So I think that it'll be interesting to see what it really does. And we have all the numbers for every year, and our game is different. NFL averages 151 plays. We average like 180 plays, 181 plays. So there's quite a bit more plays, and our games are longer because we have more plays, and we weren't stopping the clock on first downs and a few things, and our half times are 20 minutes. We had to move it from 25 to 20, and NFL is 12. So, but they have it down to 3 hours and 5 minutes, or 3:03 to 3:05 range, and ours are like 3:20 to 3:25, and just people are impatient. People are in a hurry. They want the games to go faster. So we want to take out dead time. So when the guy runs out of bounds, instead of waiting until he comes over and puts the ball down and everyone's set, and that might be 15, 20 seconds every time he goes out of bounds. Maybe we just get that, stop it, and then throw it. Once the ball's thrown in, start the clock. So we're trying to make it faster, as far as dead time, and we did some things, timeouts and but it's not perfect, but that's where they're at. They're pretty comfortable, and it's all about TV a little bit too.
Are there different instructions for the refs in those situations? Like maybe, hey, get the ball right from the sideline guy.
Yeah, we have a whole mechanics manual. 100 and some pages, and a couple chapters is on. It sounds really simple. How do you get the ball next play? Who's getting the ball? Who's touching it? If they're in hurry-up offense, if it's raining, if it's inside the red zone, it's the center judges, the umpires that coming for the wing. When do we decide one ball only? And we tell the quarterback, one ball. You want to go fast? We'll go fast with you. We're not as fast as your players, but we're going to do it best we can. But we want to be really efficient. We don't want the ball bouncing, and so on. So from that standpoint, we have a lot of mechanics just so we are efficient, to get the ball in. And you'll see the clock. The second you go out of bounds, they're going to grab a ball, and once that ball's in the air, even before I catch it and run it all the way into the hash, we're winding the clock now. So you'll see all those plays 5 seconds earlier than every out of bounds.
I don't know if this would even fall under your purview, but talking about removing 6 to 7 games per plays per game over the course of the season, that's about a game's worth of plays. With more games being added, was there talk about? Yeah, we're adding more games, but this actually takes away a game.
That's what we're trying to measure. That coaches don't want us to take away plays because they're there to play. But 150 plays for the NFL guy, they're happy. If they really are playing at the highest level, they don't want to get injured either. The more you play, and you saw we changed overtime a couple times, right? And I think Western Michigan had 8 overtimes. I think LSU against Mississippi had 8 overtimes, and we changed the rule. That's just way too many. It's like 20 extra plays for these kids in this game, and they're tired, and there's a tough game. Depends on the elements. So the reality is, we're doing some things to try for player safety and for the long haul. And now you're going to add 4 more playoff games? If you go all the way to the champion, there's 11 teams. They're going to play in a few more games, championship game and playoff games. That's a lot of snaps for a running back or any player, I guess, banging their heads out there. So we're using that. If we can save 5 plays here and another 10, if we can get it down to 170 or something, then not that they can justify, because TV. I don't want to say the money justify. They're going to have the extra games, and they're getting paid for it, and it's a really good entertainment. It's a good product, but you got to worry about the kids.
Have you seen the XFL kickoff? What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, Dean Blandino is who works for us in our replay. He runs the XFL, and I had 11 officials, guys and girls, work that league. So they experiment with everything. I kind of like it. Extra points and kickoffs and this and that. And kickoff is our most dangerous play, so that's why they're going overboard on wild. Something really different, as far as rule changes. And the NFL looks at it. We look at it closely. And if it makes sense, maybe that is let's not get stuck in the mud with our old school thinking all the time. And so I'm a pretty conservative guy, but if it's better for the game and we're serving the game and it's good for the kids, hell, go do it.
Is there anything you've seen that maybe 3 to 5 years down the road you could envision?
Well, I think you'll see similar to and we were the last to be there, so we think that we're a leader, and we are in the Big Ten, a lot of things. And we declined to go to this replay center for some good reasons, with influence and pressure, changing calls at a conference level office. But I would think that in 5 years, so you're going to see more eye in the sky, more replay. I'm not saying AI is going to referee the game for you, but you're going to see more technology calling in and doing a little bit more, trying to get it right, but trying to be more efficient. Get the game going. Don't stop it. Put the ball at this yard line. Let's go. Wind the clock. Nope. Stop the clock. Whatever it might be. They're going to assist, and college kids go fast too. So you make a call, and before you know it, they're snapping in 12 seconds, 10 seconds. You got to make a decision upstairs. That's why they might need some extra help with all the angles available. That's why this replay center is probably going to be good for us. And it's going to be consistent. And Delaney and I were not for this at one point, but I was for having everybody in college make decisions, at least at the Power 5 level, because not everyone can afford a replay center, just like not everyone can afford replay. It takes people and technology. But I finally gave in and said, okay, I think all of college football should be decided the same way. I want to know who's making the call, how are they doing it? Are they listening to the announcers? Are they, what input do they have that we don't have? That type of thing, or the fans don't see. Make it transparent as possible, and that's what we're doing. And I think it'll be good. But I think that's what you'll see, probably more help. They're trying to get perfection. I was there when, I wasn't there quite, but the NFL put the replay in first. In 86 or something.
86.
Yeah, 86. And I came in 89, so I wasn't there. But I was there early stages. I was also there when they threw it out, and because they wanted to fix every single play. It's not there for every single mistake. It's for the catastrophic error. Big game changer. People don't want it stopped every time and being micromanaged upstairs. So. Yep, I'm going.
We just have a student